Bandwidth for This Week in Startups provided by liquidweb.com.
Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corprorate Law, a boutique corporate law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs, and by Squarespace. Use the promo code TWiST6 when signing up to save 10%.
Hey everybody, it's Friday, so it's the news roundtable on This Week in Startups. With us, Erik Rannala, the co-founder of the Mucker Labs here in Accelerator in Los Angeles, Ryan Block from Gadget, Tyler Crowley with the insights, Lon Harris with the news. Lots to talk about. Microsoft is back. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's This Week in Startups. It's Friday. It's our news roundtable. This is episode number 268. Geez, we're coming up on that 300th episode real quick. Today on the news roundtable, Erik Rannala is with us. He is, are you the co-founder or founder of Mucker Labs? I think you're co-founder.
Co-founder, yep.
Co-founder of Mucker Labs, which is an accelerator here in Los Angeles.
That's right, Santa Monica.
And you just had your first class.
We did. We wrapped up with a demo day at the end of April, and we'll ramp up another class August, September.
Wow. And I think there's 6 accelerators now in Los Angeles. You got Launchpad by Mark Suster. You got Start Engine by Howard Marks. Mucker Labs. And what are the other 3? Does anybody know? Tyler knows.
Amplify.
Amplify. Oh, yes.
Different model.
Different model, of course.
Everyone's got a little bit of a different twist
Science.
on it.
Science is 5.
Very different model. They're more like BetaWorks.
They're more like BetaWorks. It's still like an incubator accelerator.
Yep.
Like
they're a handful.
That's 5. Is there a 6th? What am I missing? IOLA.
IOLA, that's right.
There's 6. That's 6 off the top of my head. So wow, it's amazing. What a renaissance, right?
Yeah.
All 5 of those 6 were launched in the last year, so there's a lot to talk about there, and we'll get into that. On the go-to meeting, flawlessly, is Ryan Block of Gadget. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, good. You know, I'm thinking about starting an incubator.
An incubator of incubators. Funny you say that.
Yes.
That shit used to happen.
Tyler said the S word. Here is the swear jar.
Is there a delay?
Let's go.
Like,
$10. Come on, Tyler. Fork it over, baby.
Oh, $10? Wow.
Yeah. In the jar.
Look, just think about how bad that would be if that was coming out of your paycheck for the FCC.
Well, considering I paid...
It's like $70,000 or something.
Yeah, that's right. Howard Stern got like an $8 million invoice. And everything going really well over at Gadget, I know, because I'm on the board. But wow, these scores have led me to buy 7 products on the system. How's the scoring system going?
It's great. Yeah, we love it. Consumers love it. Manufacturers are paying attention. It's pretty awesome.
Well, the manufacturer is getting a little pissed off because I noticed that you guys aren't pulling punches. There's some things in there with like 70s or 80s from major vendors, and I got to think that they're not pleased when they get a 72 or a 78.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard from a couple of them that they would love to do more promotion of the Gadget score on some of their products, but they don't want to promote like a low score, and we totally understand that, and
At what point do I absolutely...
Got a good product, you got to do a better job.
At what point do I feel comfortable absolutely buying a product? If it's over 90, if it's over 85, when do you think?
So I think the buy it threshold, we kind of consider that to be 85. We actually need to. I'm going to build a page specifically to answer this question. But I consider 85 and above the buy it. Like 85 is the buy it point. That's like most people can buy it and not have to think twice about it, not look back. Anything less, so like 80 to 84 score, that's very good, but you might want to be totally sure. Anything below 80, ignore. 85 and above is, I think it's very safe.
Cool. And I love the, by the way, the Mac Retina display infographic you guys did. I'll pull it up later and we'll discuss it when we're talking about that product. We should put that in the news, by the way. I'd like to talk about that Retina display.
Sure.
And of course, Tyler is here. You heard him swear before. And Lonnie Donnie is here to read the news from Ranker.com. And you know, everybody is starting new companies, including the 9 great companies coming out of Mucker Labs. I think most of them have received funding. And with all this new activity, it means that you need to have a great lawyer. You need to have great representation, right? It's a key part of running a startup company, not making those mistakes early on. And if you want a really great attorney, go talk to Scott Walker over at the Walker Corporate Law Group. They are a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Tyler knows them. He endorses them. I know him. I endorse him. All his lawyers have 10 to 20 years at those big firms, but now they've got this like boutique firm that really focuses on, you know, startups and people who are starting their entrepreneurial journey, and they'll give you flat rate pricing, and they'll really take the time to get to know you. And they're not going to be, you know, that anxiety. I mean, you have this anxiety when you get that bill from your attorney and you have to open that goddamn PDF. How terrorizing is that every month?
It is.
It's terrorizing.
And the number's always too big.
And you go like, oh my God, it's ridiculous. But you know what? Some of these law firms have these huge castles and like marble and all this stuff. You know what? Somebody's paying for that, and that's you. And you don't have to pay for all that nonsense with Walker Corporate Law. Scott prefers fixed fees. He likes it because it builds trust between him and the clients. What a great guy. Call Scott Walker directly at 310-288-6667. 310-288-6667. 288-6667. Tyler's referred a bunch of people to him. I have referred a bunch of people to him, and he does a great job. They all love it. He's helped a lot of people on the TWiST back channel. What a great guy. And thank you so much for sponsoring This Week in Startups Independent Media. What's the first story there, Lonnie Donnie?
So we'll start by talking about some of these Microsoft announcements. They officially unveiled their iPad competitor on Monday. It's the Surface tablet. Key features include a touch cover, which is a fully functioning keyboard built into the magnetic cover. It's also going to have a built-in kickstand that goes away when you're in tablet mode. It's a 10.6-inch screen, 16:9 widescreen, clear Type HD display. It's going to have front and rear cameras, a full USB port, a micro SD card slot, and it's going to have 2 versions, one running Windows RT and the other on Windows 8 Pro. So far, Microsoft hasn't talked about price ranges or availability date, but interestingly, Bloomberg the other day is reporting that it's probably going to launch without any mobile phone network connection, so it's just going to have a short-range Wi-Fi connection, as opposed to the new iPads that have LTE and the option of a mobile phone chip, as well as a Wi-Fi version. Inside skeleton and outside is made of magnesium alloy, trademarked by Microsoft, and it's going to be manufactured by Pegatron, which also works on iPhones. So I guess the question is, you know, what were some of the thoughts about this, and anywhere that Microsoft might have an edge in the tablet market once this hits stores?
Well, we have Ryan on for a reason. Ryan, is this going to be Xbox or is this going to be Zune?
I think it might be Windows Phone, which is to say that it won't, at least to start, I don't think it's going to be a massive success, but I don't think it's going to belly flop either. I think it's just going to be a slow burn for them. And you know, hopefully over a long enough period of time, they'll start to edge their way into the market. But look, the official name for this product is there's 2 of them. It's Microsoft Surface for Windows RT and Microsoft Surface for Windows Pro. I mean, this is just a classic. Microsoft, get it together.
Pick one. What I mean,
these are not good names for products. They're not snappy. They're not sexy.
I mean, Surface is fine. I would buy a Windows Surface tablet, but what?
Surface.
Just Surface.
One
you're
product.
done.
Right. They don't need 2. One product. Microsoft Surface.
What's the difference then? What is the difference between Windows 8 and Windows RT?
Okay, so Windows RT is like their iOS competitor for tablets.
Got it.
Granted, they actually have 2 versions. They have, for phones, they have Windows Phone. And for tablets, they have Windows RT, which is a variant of Windows 8 that is like totally stripped down. It's very weird. And then Windows Pro, so the Surface for Windows Pro, that's actually not a tablet in the
it's a laptop.
terms that we kind of think about it. Yeah, it's a slate PC. So it's actually it's a very, very thin tablet style PC. It runs on an Intel processor, and it runs full Windows, so you can break out of that interface and do full Windows stuff. I think that's a go nowhere product. I think it's going to be a piece of crap, and I think they should just focus on the RT product.
Just have that iOS simple experience and make it delightful for people. Now, if you're an IT manager at a big Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 company, Ryan, are you going to buy 10,000 of these for your troops, or are you going to let them buy iPads on their corporate cards and expense them? Is this going to just flow right through to, you know, 1 million units immediately because IT managers want them?
At all. In fact, I think that one of the biggest advantages that Apple has, which is kind of a dark horse thing, is that since iOS, I think it was 2 or 3, they've really been consistently pounding away on the enterprise integration. It's not something that we think about very much as consumers, but the iOS enterprise integration is really good for Exchange and Active Directory and all those kinds of services, especially Microsoft services. Right. So iPad and iPhone work really, really well for Fortune 500 companies, which is why they're deploying them so aggressively. They might actually, for quite a while, still work better than whatever Microsoft is producing.
And so, Erik, what do you think? I mean, how many of the 9 startups that you guys graduated were in the mobile space, and does this even come up on their radar yet? And you know, do you think you'll have people saying, I'm going to start this startup around this device, or is that a couple years out?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly not around Windows devices, but mobile, I mean, I think mobile now, even if it's not an explicitly mobile business, everyone's thinking about mobile as part of their strategy.
Of the 9, how many were mobile first, would you say?
Mobile first.
Any of them mobile first?
No, none of them were really mobile first. There was one that's really heavily integrated with Instagram, and obviously Instagram is really mobile centric. But the end product is products, physical products based on social media. So like Instagram photos, for example, printed on Canvas. And
it does seem like a lot of the startups are getting into the BizSpark program or using Azure. Did you see a lot of that? I mean, Microsoft's been pretty aggressive about just giving startups anything they want, like for free, like please get on our platform, let us support you any way we can. Yeah. How is Microsoft viewed by startups? It's certainly not as the evil empire anymore.
Yeah, but still with a lot of skepticism, I think. I mean,
healthy skepticism.
Healthy skepticism, yeah. I mean, most folks aren't developing on a Microsoft stack, or at least not most startups that we run into. And now Microsoft is actually doing some stuff to even expand its offerings beyond folks only developing on the Microsoft stack, like with Azure and things like that.
So Azure supporting LAMP, for example.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah,
and is it supporting LAMP now, Tyler, or is it getting close?
I don't use LAMP on my Azure, so I'm not sure if it does. I think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely moving in that direction. So I think those are the right things for them to be doing for developers and for startups.
They're being very startup friendly.
Yeah, they are. I mean, and you know, I think even their evangelism and kind of startup outreach that they're doing doesn't even center around folks building on the Microsoft stack, which again I think is smart if they're trying to expand beyond that. So I think they are being startup friendly, and likewise with Windows Mobile, they're being startup friendly. They're trying to give incentives to startups to build on Microsoft device.
They're paying them. They're basically saying, hey, we'll give you $50,000 or $100,000 in development fees to port to the Windows 8 platform.
Yeah, that's right. Which I think is smart. I mean, it'll at least hopefully jumpstart. I mean, you know, for their sake, I think it's smart to jumpstart that ecosystem, that app ecosystem in a way that...
I covered that whole point in that blog post I put up today as well.
Your yearly blog post. Thanks for the time. Hey, Ryan, how important is it that Microsoft is building the hardware here, and what does this mean for their partners, you know, Acer, HP, Dell, Alienware, whoever?
I actually think, you know, they're catching a lot of flack for it, and a lot of people are, you know, oh my God, Microsoft is building hardware. But Microsoft has built hardware for a very long time, and you know, this was a kind of a bigger point of contention a few years ago, and I actually sat down with Bill Gates one time and I was asking about this, and you know, Bill's perspective was they will build hardware always. They will always build hardware if it makes sense, because the hardware and software need to be tied together in a meaningful way. And I think that they felt that way about this space, about the tablet space.
Yeah.
And honestly, I tend to agree. I mean, you look at the market leader for this, you look at Apple, and you know, they're able to deliver consistently high quality experiences because they do the whole banana, as they say. They control the stack from end to end, manufacturing, production, design, software, hardware. It's all Apple, and it's a great experience. And I think it's really good that Microsoft is doing that. I mean, I think that means that they're going to have probably a better quality experience than you know, the crap that a lot of their partners turn out. I mean, you know, your average Dell product really not, you know, going to probably reach the quality level that Microsoft, I think, is aiming for with the Surface.
Interesting. And then there was also a Windows 8 phone announcement, correct? Is Microsoft going to make their own phone? I mean, that seems to me like a no-brainer as well. If they're going to make the tablet, and they've proven that that's integrated, wouldn't the logic say that the phone needs to be even more because it's smaller and it's more contained? Are they going to make their own phone?
I think that they kind of are already making their own phone, and that's Nokia.
Right, because they own a piece of it. Right?
Nokia is basically like their, it's their.
You were going to say you were going to use a certain word. Nokia is there.
Yeah, I don't want to pay that $10.
I don't think saying BITCH means $10. That's not one of the 7.
The deal that they struck.
Just say it. Say Nokia's, Microsoft's.
How do you say that in Norwegian? You could.
I think it's biatch.
Yes.
Nokia, why didn't Microsoft buy Nokia? Shouldn't they just have bought Nokia? Why didn't they do that? It was just too much of a disaster, that company?
Or Finnish, I think.
I think so, yeah. I think I read a report this week that they, when they took a look at the financials and the numbers, they were terrified at how awful Nokia was performing. And that really doesn't surprise me. But, look, like, why buy the cow when you get them up for free?
What about Google? Now,
technically not free. They actually, I think they paid Nokia.
Next week, Google's going to announce their tablet with Asus. Is that right, Ryan? Or that's
TBD. We'll see.
TBD, to be determined. But clearly, with the Motorola purchased, it doesn't take a genius. If Apple had great success building hardware, software, soup to nuts, Microsoft does it, and Google's been threatening and had done it with the Nexus already, Google's going to become a hardware manufacturer as well. You believe that, Ryan?
It's a little tricky. I think that it's a lot more likely now that with the acquisition, the Motorola acquisition, I don't think it's actually closed yet, or maybe it just closed
Yeah, it did. It got approval. Yeah, it closed. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Sanjay Jha, I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but he was the Motorola CEO who sold the company to Google.
Yeah.
He's out. Google installed their own kind of CEO, so I think that they're going to try to get them, in line. Motorola has a lot of legacy business, though. They have a lot of products that don't really
set-top boxes, headsets, phone systems.
They're going to have to clear out. But I mean, look, ultimately, I think everybody who understands the space understands at some point, at some level, sooner or later, you have to own the whole banana. You can't just license software. It's not the best experience.
But that wasn't that long ago when that used to be the criticism, wasn't it, of Apple?
Of course, the criticism of Apple was
the reason Microsoft's killing them is because they're a one-trick pony and they have to control the line.
Until they got it right.
Well, yeah, it turns out that actually by doing both.
I think a couple of things happened. One, hardware became totally commoditized. So specs stopped mattering. I think maybe
that's a very good point.
You used to thereabouts. We got to the point where every computer was sufficiently fast enough that it just didn't matter anymore.
Nobody buys based on memory.
We had to focus on experiences.
Yeah. Nobody buys based on memory or processor or hard drive speed unless you're in the top 10% of users. So I guess this all leads me to Facebook. Is Facebook going to launch hardware? I would say if Facebook launched, if they bought a small hardware company, like let's say Facebook bought Jawbone as an example, right? Somebody who just was magnificent at making beautiful hardware. If they bought Jawbone and they put the team there on making a device, where they bought BlackBerry, let's say, right? I mean, not that you'd have to do that, but if they bought somebody who made a small device like the Danger did in the past, and they made just a communication device that was hardware-based around Facebook with the keyboard and everything being Facebook-esque, the apps being Facebook-esque, and they sold 1 million of those with $100 profit, $200 profit on each one, or 10 million of them, I mean, this could become a material business for them. What are the chances, you think, Erik? You think they're going to do that? What do you hear?
Yeah.
It sounds like you got that look on your face where you're like, why did you ask me that question? And you looked at your shoes, which to me means you have inside information.
Not that I.
You have inside information,
Not that I'm aware of. No. I mean, it's.
You sure?
No, I am sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Positive.
You heard rumors. What have you heard?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I think they've got a lot of other fish to fry in terms of the stuff that they're trying to do, and just the current business, I think, is complex enough, and figuring out how to make a lot of money on that user base.
On that base of users.
Yeah, and I suppose a device could do it, but it's not trivial. I mean, I think the device business is not, the integration that Apple has done so well between hardware and software, it took them a long time to do it, and they had Steve Jobs kind of driving that ship.
This is the question I have, actually. Is the hardware business trivial or not anymore? Because I think Apple wants us to think that it's really hard to make great physical products, but then I look at Kickstarter, and I see all these people making brilliant hardware, and I see Jawbone making brilliant. I'm starting to think it's actually not as difficult as Steve Jobs made it out to be.
It depends on the hardware.
Okay, explain.
Building hardware has become way easier. I think the broad stroke, you're right. Building certain devices has become way easier, but building other kinds of devices, specifically phones and tablets, has become much, much harder. So building a phone today versus building a phone 10 years ago is orders of magnitude more difficult. And the example I like to use, and this is something I hear people talk about a lot, and I kind of have a very strong opinion about like this whole argument of is it easier to build hardware. The example I like to use is antenna design. It is a black art. Very few people know how to do it. It's almost impossible. You can look at Apple. They support more antennas and more frequencies in one phone than pretty much any other company supports in any other device in the world. They have multiple frequencies for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS, Edge, 3G, not LTE, whatever Verizon's is CDMA, and then they'll add LTE later. It's
iPad,
crazy.
they have LTE now.
Like so building certain kinds of devices is extremely difficult. Building other smaller kinds of like Fitbit and Jawbones and stuff like that has actually become a lot easier though.
Well, and I think the hardware-software integration actually is not trivial either, right? Apple has done that really, really well.
Yeah. And
it's seamless, and you kind of take it for granted using an Apple device, but then you use an Android device or an Android, OS on a, Motorola phone, and it's so kludgy. It's clear
Android
that they
is
were
just a disaster.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that when we get back, and let me just take one moment to talk about a service that I use and love, Squarespace. It's great. If you don't use it, you're a disgrace. Squarespace, blah, 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 blah. 24-hour support for creating beautiful, professional-looking websites, and I've been using this product for a long time, and I love it. And you guys know, I get to pick who's the sponsors of the show, and I only pick products where I really feel I can get behind it. Look at this gorgeous site, jbit.lu, built on Squarespace. Gorgeous, seamless, and I can tell you, updating these templates, and they have so many templates, and support for different media types is so easy and so awesome. And here's another one, Stated Magazine. You can build with their CMS gorgeous stuff that scales because they have all the scaling stuff worked out. And God, Ryan will tell you, when we were at Weblogs Inc., we would suffer over all these issues, and now people make these products off the shelf that just work. Use the promo code TWiST6, TWiST6, and you'll get 10% off. And they're giving a free domain name. Yes, you heard that right. Free domain name with your purchase, yearly or bi-yearly plan. 10% off with the coupon code TWiST6. What a great piece of software. I use it for Launch.co and all my other projects. Anytime I got to fire up a website, that's what I use. And when I have family members come to me or other folks who are like, I need to start a business on the web, I just say, go to Squarespace. It's perfect and flawless. And they always call me and say, I can't believe my website's so beautiful, and you were right. It's so easy to use. That's Squarespace. Ryan, you're nodding your head. Are you a Squarespace fan?
I'm not, but I was definitely nodding your head to how easy a lot of these companies make it now, especially.
Unbelievable.
I remember back in the day, Engadget would go down, Weblogs Inc. would go down, and I'd get up, I'd get out of bed, I'd go restart the database server, and then we'd come back up. It was great.
Here's the order of events. Engadget fans call Ryan and Peter and complain to them. Peter and Ryan call me and yell at me. I call up Brian Alvey and I yell at Brian Alvey. Brian Alvey's wife calls me up and says, why are you yelling at Brian? That's basically, and then I go back to the Engadget fans and the site's back up and running. No, she never did that. But this was probably 1/3 of our pain, was just keeping the goddamn sites up when they scaled. And now network effects are so much more increased because of Reddit. We used to just have the dig effect, which would be like, oh my God, we got 10,000 people in a day. Now it's like, oh, Reddit, Twitter, BuzzFeed, Hacker News. You could wind up getting millions of people in a day, and Squarespace is never going to go down and just be perfect for you. What a great service, and it's gorgeous, and they stand by the product, and that company's doing amazing. I think it's Excel backed them. Just a really great company. I tried to angel invest, and I couldn't get in. It was too late. Shame on me. Everybody thank at Squarespace on their Twitter account. And if somebody comes to you and says, I need to build a website, you say,
Squarespace.
And if somebody says Squarespace, you say, build a beautiful website.
Websites.
Build a beautiful website.
Build a beautiful website. Got
I say Squarespace, you say?
Build a beautiful website.
I say build a beautiful website, you say?
Squarespace.
I say Squarespace, you say?
Build a beautiful website.
I say Squarespace, we all say? Build a beautiful website. Okay, good. Now
With
we've got
more
the neural
enthusiasm,
linguistics. Okay, one more time. I say Squarespace, everybody says? Build a beautiful website. There we go. We just paid the bills. Okay, we can be on the air for one more week. No, I'm doing neural. I'm going to start a cult after this. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
The writing's on the wall.
You'll be the master. We've seen the trailers.
It's absolutely going to happen, and I am getting my cult strategy together. And NLP, neuro linguistic programming, is
good businesses.
I had the guy from ComScore on the phone with me.
Mm-hmm. I saw your tweets
because they were
about
trying
this,
to shake me down again.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, we'll fix your data. Just give us $20,000. And I was like, oh my God, this like junior level salesperson has never typed in Calacanis ComScore into Google. He has no idea that I've like written about ComScore shaking me down for money before. And he sends me an email. Yes, we'll correct your data. That's part of the subscription service of $20,000. And I'm like, are you sure? And he writes, absolutely. So then the sales guy calls me. He's on the phone. And it's like, Jason, come on. I know that you wouldn't be calling me if you didn't actually really care about having a subscription and the data that we could provide you to grow your business. And I was like, you're right. I wouldn't have called you if I didn't care about my data. And he's like, that's right. And like I'm playing along with this neuro-linguistic programming. And then I said to him, I said, I'm like Jabba the Hutt over here. Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. Jedi. Boom, I put him right to the ranker.
Yeah.
Ranker. Okay, next story, Ranker.
Okay, well, do we want to, I guess we're done with the Windows Phone. We'll move
Enough
on.
with the Windows Phone.
Spotify.
I just think Microsoft is...
We had more to talk about because they're not
I think
gonna...
Microsoft is in a renaissance. And I think that whatever they're putting in the water over there, they're getting better people. And I think like all that money and all that footprint and getting their ass kicked for a little while, it's actually, they're getting focused on product again. I think, what do you think? Are you long or short, just technology-wise, Ryan, Microsoft? Long or short?
I don't know. Hard to say. They get some stuff right. They get some stuff wrong. I think the one thing that they've proven is they know how to invest in the long term. And you know, I think we see things like Surface and you know, we kind of, you know, chuckle and you know, laugh at them because, you know, they're a couple of years late and, you know, it's a product that may not be as interesting as the market leader. But, you know, we're going to look back at this 15 years from now, and the 3 years late that they are right now is going to seem like a blip. So I don't know.
And they were how many years late?
On Nintendo.
On Nintendo, and
Nintendo was perceived at the time as the mega monopoly.
Unstoppable juggernaut.
That was a little trickier because the way that the video game life cycles work really plays well to that. Every 5 years, the whole industry resets around a new generation of consoles. So you basically, at the time, they had an opportunity every 5 years to come in and, you know, become a player. And the first time it didn't really work for them. They figured out what they needed to fix, and then the second time they totally blew it away. And now they're, you know, by far the market leader in the video game console industry.
But I think they're doing what they have to do, right? They see where the markets are going, and they see the big trends, and if they want to stay relevant, they have to do what they're doing. I think the Windows Phone stuff actually doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty good.
I thought the Windows Phone interface is gorgeous. I was at the D conference and I'd never picked up the Lumia. Is it Lumia?
Lumia. Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah.
Holy Jesus! The guy handed me the Lumia.
Lumia. Nokia Lumia 900 is the new one.
He handed me the Lumia 900. This guy from Nokia, and I was like, "This is more beautiful than my iPhone," and I think it's on par with the Samsung. It had actually a better hand feel than the Samsung. Yeah,
the form factor's nice, and the UI is nice on the Windows Phone.
I love that
stuff.
UI. I was flipping through like Dan O'Lewin's phone one time. There's some interesting stuff in there. And I'm flipping through his phone, and I'm like checking. But I was like, it's really like it's almost too artistic.
Yeah.
What do you think of the interface? What do you think of the UI on Windows Phone, Ryan?
I think it's great. I think they did a really good job. I think the reason that they were able to do such a good job there is because they went really outside their bounds on that.
What does that mean?
What's that?
What does that mean, outside their bounds?
They applied a completely different process to how they approach design. Normally, their design is done kind of in response to, you know, project managers, and it's kind of yet another component that they build into their, you know, product objectives. With Windows Phone, they actually set out with a design first process. So they went out and they hired this guy, Albert Shum, who's the former lead designer at Nike. And guy's like just a genius. I've met him a number of times. I think he's amazing. And they brought him in. They said, okay, you're God on this project. You make this phone the best that you can possibly make it, and everyone listens to you. So, you know, Windows Phone basically had its own like mini Steve Jobs, right? Like they had a guy who came in and said like, this is how it's going to be. And that's why it's like the most amazing, Microsoft product that they might have ever released. I mean, in terms of user experience.
I do wish they hadn't called it Windows Phone though. The Windows brand just has so much baggage.
Clearly, he didn't have control of the FDA.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Should they change the name of Windows to something else and rebrand it?
Microsoft is totally addicted to Windows. They seem to think that consumers love the Windows brand, which, I mean, maybe like they have some tests and data that show that consumers like it or something. I think it's like Stockholm syndrome.
It is. And you know what the thing is?
I don't think anybody like truly in their heart of hearts loves Windows. Just like I don't think anyone truly in their heart of hearts.
It's too much. It's that adulation of brand names. Like it's like in movies where they'll remake movies nobody saw the first time around just because it's got that name recognition.
Well, I think people confuse unaided sort of awareness of a brand with actually what they associate with the brand, right? Because I associate everyone knows Windows, but I associate it with blue screen of death, right?
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. But you don't associate the word Microsoft with that. And they say Microsoft Office, they say Microsoft Xbox, they say Microsoft Connect. Why don't they just say Microsoft Mobile or Microsoft Phone and be done with it? It's the Microsoft Phone.
They do the Xbox.
You don't need to put anything else. It's not the Microsoft Phone for 3.195 RT.
I think Windows is baggage.
The branding on the Xbox is so good. I want the Xphone.
You know what?
Oh, that's a good idea. They were trying
Tyler,
to do
if they had a
PlayStation phones,
Microsoft
too.
Xphone, that would, and the X tablet, they should just go all X branding. My God, Tyler, you're a genius. Play the insights from Tyler just for that one. It's not technically an insight, but I love that idea.
That's good because they're already pairing the phones too. It's with your Xbox Live account is so prominent. That makes total sense to me. Actually.
What's the Airplay equivalent on that everybody's talking about, Ryan, on the on Microsoft?
It's called SmartGlass.
SmartGlass, and so
SmartGlass. Yeah.
Why is everybody freaking out about that and nobody knows about Airplay?
So SmartGlass, they announced this at E3. It's not out yet. Basically, the idea is it's like Airplay in that you can kind of.
Well, explain what Airplay is, because some of the audience doesn't. I asked at a conference right now how many people have used Airplay. How many people have heard of Airplay? Like 25%. This is a tech conference. And they said, how many people have used it? It was like 3 people. People don't even know what Airplay is.
Apple hasn't done a very good job there. It's actually, I mean, Airplay is like, it's really amazing.
It's amazing. Explain what Airplay is.
Okay, so Airplay is basically a system within Apple's products. They haven't really licensed it out to anybody else yet, where you can take content and throw it somewhere else. So I'm on my iPad, I'm sitting at my TV with my Apple TV hooked up. I can just take whatever it is I'm watching on YouTube on my iPad and throw it up on my big TV, and it's like one click. Or alternately, in the new version of OS X, I can actually share my entire desktop screen to an Apple TV with one click. I just throw it up on the TV. So it's basically, it's like content beaming over the network.
So if I am using my laptop, I will be able to have my MacBook Air or MacBook Pro and then throw what's on my screen onto my television set. If it has Apple TV. So here I'm showing the image. There's a little hockey puck Apple TV, not the literal Apple TV. If you plug that in, when you open your iPad and you're playing video, or your laptop in the next version, you're going to be able to throw whatever's on your laptop onto there without plugging in. And you had to use an HDMI cable for this before, correct? Or S-Video?
Yeah.
What is the ramification of this?
Same thing for audio. Where if you have an Airplay like speaker, you can just from your iPhone, from your iPad, from your computer, you can just say, play this audio in that location. So it's kind of like Sonos in that way.
It's like
you just beam the audio to the location that you want it to.
But if you're having a party and you have an Airplay enabled speaker system, I could walk up with my phone, Airplay it over, then you could Airplay yours. And
actually, I don't think it works exactly. I think you have to like authorize.
Yeah, it has to be like an authorized.
No, I'm pretty sure Ryan's right. It's not any phone. It has to be your phone will beam to.
But you cannot.
But what is?
They don't want like anybody to be able to hijack your connection.
Now, when they presented Airplay for your laptop in OS X, and now this is a very subtle point here. Correct me if I'm wrong. They presented it as, this is great for presentations, like if you're in a company and you want to take what's on your laptop and put it on the screen. But isn't the truth, Ryan, that what this is you're watching ABC.com or you're watching Hulu, and they're not allowed to get Hulu or NBC.com or YouTube or these other things on the Apple device, maybe YouTube they are, and this is a way to route around that?
I think it is. Yeah.
They figured out a way to hack.
It's one of those things that they can't really control. Sling used to do this with the Sling catcher.
Right.
It never really caught on for them. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the ability to kind of beam content and be agnostic about that opens a lot of possibilities.
But Apple is not agnostic, correct? This is only for Apple devices.
Currently, yes. I think they license AirPlay audio. I don't think they license AirPlay video.
Right, and the reason they don't license AirPlay video?
If you want to add AirPlay to like your speaker dock, I think you have to buy a $30 chip from them, and then you have to like license the technology.
Now, why are they not licensing it for video?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Would they might have a device that's going to use that, and they want to wait before they give Samsung or other people the ability to have AirPlay. Is that correct?
It's possible. I mean, I think that they're still kind of really pushing the Apple TV, and the Apple TV has actually been performing pretty well for them lately. So it's a $100, you know, video endpoint for them.
So
it does all kinds of stuff.
What is the Microsoft one, and why does it matter? Why are people freaking out about it?
So the SmartGlass, we don't know everything about it yet, but it's very similar where you can kind of throw content around. But the thing that it does a little bit differently is they're also releasing an app for iPad and various platforms, and you can use it to augment the content that you're doing, that you're using. So if you're on Xbox and you're playing a game and you have a tablet in your lap, the game can actually throw the app like extra content or extra interface, you know, menus and other stuff like that. So you can augment the game with your tablet. And then, you know, if you're watching television, they showed a demo of like the HBO Go app, which is awesome, and I love watching HBO on my Xbox. So they showed like watching Game of Thrones on the HBO Go app, and then there's like the map of Westeros there, and so you can see the map of like where the scenes are taking place at. So it's like augmenting the TV. So, you know, these things we've been like talking about and hearing about, and like, you know,
and they're here
about for a very long time. And so this is going to like come to Xbox in this way with SmartGlass.
I think it's going to enable a huge amount of app development and content development around specifically television.
Another example I'm reading here, I saw that Westeros example, which is awesome and would be super helpful with that show because it's all over. But also they're saying Madden NFL, you could draw up a play on your tablet and beam it into the game and make your players like play it out, which is that's next generation.
So for the game stuff, I think that it's pretty interesting and very particular. I think for the entertainment content, I'm a little worried because I don't think that people are going to want to like build, you know, rich multimedia experiences for multiple platforms for a show. Right, like you're not going to have to build your Westeros map for Game of Thrones for iPad and SmartGlass and, you know, whatever the hell RIM is doing, right? Like
you don't want to do it HTML5.
You want to create the data, and then you want that data to be able to like display anywhere.
Yeah.
And really, only Microsoft is doing this right now. So I don't know. I kind of hope that they're gonna, whatever they do with that, they're gonna.
They should open standard it. They should just give it away for free. I mean, this is how Microsoft really needs to compete with Apple, is to make these kind of innovations open source, allow everybody to build off of it, and then they can fight Apple where they're weakest, which is on the open source front and the closeness of the system. I mean, this new tablet has a USB port. That means anybody can make a device, anybody can plug anything into it, and the whole, you know, accessory business on Surface will be open without having to beg Apple for permission. Whereas right now, anybody who wants to do anything innovative with the iPad, they have to wait for the gatekeeper to approve. Let's do the next story.
So Spotify, web-based service that lets people listen to music for free on demand, has launched its own web radio service. It's essentially a mirror of Pandora and what they've been offering. Now Spotify will allow users to stream playlists directly to their phones. Used to be $10 a month to move your Spotify playlist onto your phone. That's the only way to get it mobile. This will be more like a radio service, so you can't choose specific songs. It's more like you pick an artist or you pick a channel, and then it recommends songs that it plays with commercials, just like Pandora. They're working on an Android version of it right now. It's so far only iOS. So Spotify claims that users of the radio feature have been the most highly engaged users and that they stay longer and they're more likely to upgrade. So that's sort of what they're counting on. One thing I thought was interesting is that they could, because it's following DMCA rules for a web radio station as opposed to the core Spotify product, they could actually put any artist they want on the Spotify radio. Right now, you can't listen to the Beatles on Spotify, but you could theoretically listen to it on Spotify radio. Right now, they say they're only going to feature their own catalog, but that may be coming down the road.
How many people here have listened to Spotify in the last 30 days?
I got the radio upgrade and I played with it.
How many people use Spotify?
I actually pay the $10 a month.
You're a paid subscriber? Ryan, are you a paid subscriber? You use Spotify? What do you use?
RDO.
Audio, yeah. What do you use?
Mostly Pandora.
Mostly Pandora?
YouTube.
Oh, you little devil, you. That's very sneaky.
They got the best select. They got everything.
YouTube really does have more songs than probably
I know.
anyone else.
I was listening to a Pink Floyd, but when you listen to Pink Floyd off that disgusting YouTube audio,
and it's not good in your car, and it's too hard to find like live.
I have Rhapsody, but I'm
the...
in my Sonos at home and on my iPhone, and I'm thinking about kicking Rhapsody out because it costs like $10 a month, and radio is $5 or $6. Ryan?
Not if you want to use it on your Sonos. Yeah, the web-only version is like $5, and then the web plus devices, which means iPad, iPhone, Sonos, any other device that you would connect with.
Is there any difference between these products now? Like, is there a difference between Rhapsody,
the libraries,
Sonos?
It's really the libraries.
It's all about the catalogs.
Yeah.
Who has the best then? Spotify?
Spotify, audio, yeah.
I mean, I like the audio catalog because they have a lot more independent music on it. But I think a lot of people think that the Spotify catalog is pretty good.
I very rarely, I mean, unless it's like Led Zeppelin, Beatles, like one of those bands that just is very
I had a God account on Spotify
it.
For a couple weeks. Or a couple months, but I don't know if I can say, but I had a God account that let me listen to every song around the world, like a press account, to play with it. It was amazing because I would find playlists of like Bob Dylan covers in Germany, or which really sound I mean, when German people sing, it's just absolutely horrific. I mean, but then I found the French ones, and French female singers singing Bob Dylan is so delightful. It's like just complete ear porn, and well, I shouldn't say that. Ear candy. Ear porn is just going in a really bad direction. Bad visual. It's really unbelievably delightful. And so I was talking to the guys from Spotify, and I was like, "Can I pay an extra $1 a month per country?" And he's like, "No, you cannot use the French songs outside of France. They can't. You know, it's like there's no EU version. It's just, or maybe it is EU." So then I was like, "Well, if I have a VPN from Europe." Because I had a VPN.
Well, that's what people were doing originally when they launched just in Europe.
Yeah,
and you
people
couldn't get it. People,
right. So you pay $5 a month for a VPN, and then you could so I had a VPN for a while, like one of those free ones, and I was watching BBC because BBC in the UK you can get the entire catalog if you have a VPN, you know,
online,
on the UK.
Yeah.
And boy, was that amazing, amazing. All right, next story.
A new Louisiana law requires sex offenders and child predators to state their criminal status on their Facebook and other social networking pages. The law was signed by Louisiana's governor.
Like in what? Like in an update? Like a status update?
I think you have to have like a badge or something like that. It's like getting verified, but maybe.
Oh, I see. So like there'll be like Twitter verified or Facebook verified?
Right, verified.
Verified
child,
pedophile.
Yeah, child predator.
That's great.
So Bobby Jindal, the governor down there, signed the law earlier this month. It just passed the legislature this week. It's going to take effect August the 1st. The first law's author, State Representative Jeff Thompson, he's a Republican, says the bill is the first of its kind in the nation. It's his hope other states will follow their lead. It's worth noting that it is already against Facebook's terms of service to be a member if you are a registered sex offender. So you're really not supposed to be on there at all. And if they find sex offenders on there, they kick them off.
So that's just another way for them to penalize somebody.
Right. So like Thompson explained it as being, well, we want to go that extra step to additionally protect people under the law in addition to just Facebook's own internal mechanism.
So this representative would like to pander to his state people just a little more.
Yeah,
because pedophile. If a pedophile is on Facebook, they are gonna. There's nothing stopping them from getting on Facebook. And certainly, if you're deranged enough to be a pedophile, you're deranged enough to ignore the rules.
Any registered sex offender. They're not just pedophiles.
Okay, so, all right. So if you're deranged enough to be a sex offender,
yes.
Why on earth would you not be deranged enough to not comply with this? Well,
right. I mean, the real question comes down to, is this in any way remotely enforceable, considering how easy it is to sign up for an account on a social network?
So ridiculous.
They may be able to track you down eventually, but...
Hold on a second. What is that like, Tyler?
That's like patenting a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
But is there anything wrong with it?
Wait. You haven't been on the show. It's the first time. Right? When he says something that's totally incomprehensible, then I have to figure it out. All right. So it's like patenting a nuclear weapon. This means, what is the point of patenting a nuclear weapon if it's from another country that doesn't respect patents anyway?
Or whether it's already out there.
Or so what? You sue me and then I blow you up.
Correct. Yes.
I got it. Okay, that's a pretty good one, Tyler. I get it. And then the way that relates to a sex offender is, if I'm already a felon, a felonious person, why on earth would me would you think that I would put a little gold star next to my name to admit that I'm a felon?
Well, there are
this is sort of the same as they're also required to go tell their neighbors and people in their neighborhood that they are a registered sex offender. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if this gives law enforcement a way to enforce some consequence, right? If they don't tell people or if they are on Facebook, for example, instead of relying on Facebook to police it and having no consequences if these guys are on Facebook, at least this gives some remedy for these guys going on Facebook where they probably shouldn't be. I don't think anybody would really
Let's
want
talk
them
about something more important. Let's talk about Karen. Explain to us the Karen situation.
We'll talk much more important.
Here's the video.
So we have a video. It's on the Ranker page. It's everywhere if you want to find it. It's from Greece, New York. It features a 68-year-old school bus monitor. Her name's Karen Klein. She's being bullied viciously by middle school students. Oh my God, you're so bad. She's being bullied viciously by middle school students.
Okay, keep going.
So it goes on for nearly 10 minutes like that, and you can tell that the original video was taken from one of the bully's cell phones or one of the students on the bus's cell phones. Went viral, sparked tens of thousands of angry comments all over the web, and the kids themselves in the videos, their personal info has been leaked everywhere. Their identities are now known.
These kids. I mean, listen, I did horrific stuff when I was a kid, but they're basically taking this person who's a bus monitor, I guess.
She used to be a bus driver, and now she's a bus monitor. For 3 years, she's been a bus monitor.
They're yelling at her, you fat pig, you're sweating,
just
you're
vicious,
disgusting garbage. And
physical violence they're threatening. And
she starts crying.
Well, I don't know if you knew the worst part. She actually had her eldest son committed suicide several years back. And these kids are yelling at her, your whole family should kill themselves. I'm surprised your family hasn't killed themselves. So you can understand why she would be personally very, emotional about it.
All right, keep going.
So anyway, this video outraged America and inspired a man named Max Sidorov to start an online fundraiser on Indiegogo.com with the goal of sending Klein on a much-deserved vacation. He had set the original goal at $5,000. It has raised over $400,000. It was about $440,000 when I checked it last night.
Actually, it's $555,000.
Yeah, so it's $150,000 of that is just in the last 12 to 16 hours or so.
Can you get these little brats to come ride in the Tesla with me and give me a $555,000 ego? This is the internet, as screwed up as it is. Like we talked last week about the Scout, horrific, 3 kids being raped in that, because of that, or in conjunction with using that app, which should never have been built. And then you have the next week, something like this happen. This restores my faith in the jovial, quixotic insanity that is the internet at its best. I mean, this is so great. You don't want to attack the kids, right? Because they're stupid kids who are 12 years old or 13 years old.
Yeah, they're middle school students.
Those kids need to just have a talking to.
Always been vicious.
They're always going to do vicious,
way.
crazy stuff. This is occurring. You said on your Twitter, this has been occurring every day, every middle school, everywhere. But that the internet will respond and give this woman $500,000.
Well, I think it's so many people on the internet, and myself included, can relate in some way to being bullied by. Like I was bullied in.
You haven't worked here for 2 years, Lon. All right. So Doug, enough with your Indiegogo.
Yes, sir. Somebody please send me on vacation.
You're weak. $550,000. So what is she going to do with the $550,000?
She did an interview on TV, and she's expressed she's very dubious that she's ever going to see this money. She doesn't really get how these things work. She says that's so much money. Her quote is, "I don't know. I just don't feel like it'll come to me anyway, so I don't think too much about it. It's a nice gesture, but I don't know if it's real or not." She also said she thinks that the kids should be suspended from sports for a year and given community service, and that just this video getting everywhere and people being mad at them is not really teaching them a lesson. But she says deep down she believes they're good kids, and she doesn't think that this is like an indication they're bad people.
But she's from Greece, New York.
Greece, New York.
Which none of us have ever heard of. I think the median income in Greece, New York is about $8,000 or something, right? Nobody's heard of Greece,
I did not look it up, but I did not know there was
Do you realize that $555,000 in Greece, New York would probably buy the top 10 houses or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's just going to blow this all on a trip around the world.
Oh
this
my
is
God.
setting her up for the rest of her days.
This is the greatest thing ever. I don't know. I find this awesome.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think those kids should be punished, though. I mean, I think it's.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, yes, kids do cruel things, but again, I think there have to be consequences when kids do stuff like that.
Well, what I was responding to, somebody on Twitter had responded to Jason and I like, this is just the declining morals and ethics of our society, and we're all, it's like going down the gutter. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think middle school kids have been brutally mean.
I think it was probably much more vicious 100 years ago, and more vicious 50 years ago.
And now we just have video. Like, we didn't used to have
this
video
is verbal
of what
abuse.
was happening.
This is verbal abuse. I can tell you, if this was 1976 on a school bus in Brooklyn, you would have gotten your ass kicked.
Well, not a 68-year-old lady.
Okay, maybe not her, but I mean, she might have gotten hit, or she might have had stuff thrown at her. I mean, things were particularly more brutal.
Physical altercations between people.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're making a little progress as a society, and the fact that this is out here as a deterrent, I mean, I think is what these camera phones are doing. There was a nonprofit, it probably still exists, called Witness. And the whole concept of Witness, which Peter Gabriel backed, and I was, just a fan of back in the day, their whole idea was digital cameras are only costing, $2,000 or $3,000. Let's get people to donate money, and we send video cameras to hotspots around the world so that they can videotape police behaving badly. Little did they know that everybody would have a video camera for free eventually because of
just come on their phone. Yeah. But I mean, we're also seeing, there's so many YouTube videos that go viral of like, people being jerks on the bus, or people being racist on a train. Or, I mean, you see them once a week, and I do think overall there is going to be a deterrent aspect to it, that I don't want this to show up on YouTube and I look like a jerk in front of the whole world.
There's more accountability for this, and I think when you start seeing some of the Google Glasses stuff and covert images, then it's going to get really interesting. What do you think of that, Ryan? Like the chances that everybody will have life casting equipment, or hidden cameras and stuff like that. Are you seeing that on the gadget front, where like I could put a lapel pin on and it's recording for 24 hours? And do you think that stuff's going to get actually into the market, like Google Glasses, where something like if Google Glasses becomes a reality, won't we see like bad behavior go up, a recording of bad behavior go up a magnitude, because people will just not realize people are recording everything? There's a Kickstarter project for glasses. I met the kid at the San Jose airport, and I might invest in it. Is like, this stuff is coming, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, not in like the next 2 years, but I can see a point in our lifetimes, our collective lifetimes, where we assume that every angle that that we exist in is being recorded by someone. That does not seem very far-fetched to me.
And life casting, I mean, we used to hear about that a decade ago. You think that's going to have a reemergence? Do you think there's a business there or an opportunity?
I don't know. We should ask your pal Josh.
Yeah, Josh Harris, exactly. Look at this thing. This is the video thing. Check this video out. Easy 720p. You click that little button with these nerdy Clark Kent glasses. It's totally self-contained, has a Wi-Fi chip, and it can stream. And the camera's right there. You would never even know there's a camera in there.
Will people ever figure out to start filming in landscape mode, though? People always film vertically, and it looks like crap on YouTube.
For the love of God, with that terrible iPhone aspect ratio. I don't understand why.
Just turn your camera on the side. Just turn your phone to the side.
Flip it over, people. That's because when you hold it, it's more convenient to hold it.
We should have PSAs or something. They did like, to click it or tick it and all that stuff. It should be like, if you're going to film something for YouTube,
this is the interesting thing. I think that this is going to create another level of like argumentative, these argumentative people who, like, they keep telling you, like, oh, no, you said this, but you said that, and you said this, and then they keep bringing that up, and oh, no, but you just said, and you're like, well, I'm changing my position, whatever.
Right.
These people are going to be, like, sitting there in business meetings, and you're going to be like, I never said that, and they're going to be like, brrr, and they're going to replay, and they're going to hit the Airplay button, and then on the big screen, it's going to be me saying, like, no, we shouldn't do that. That technology is never going to work. And they're going to be like, oh, from 1998, you said this would never work.
I mean, with broadcasting this stuff or recording conversations, don't you have to get everyone's permission if you record a conversation with them? What are the...
Depends on the region. It depends on the expectation of privacy is the answer. So in New York, I think one party needs to be on the phone. Only one party on the phone needs to know it's being recorded, i.e. you.
Interesting.
In California, I believe it's two-party, because when I was a journalist, we went through this, and there were certain journalists...
that law is national.
Is it national? Both parties need to know it's being recorded?
Both, if you're going to record a phone call, both parties need to be aware.
Yeah, that changed at some point. But I think the expectation, of privacy in a public forum, there is none, and so you can covertly, and then also the use of it. So if the use is for journalism, like if I was doing, I don't have to tell the person I'm recording them if it's for a journalistic thing, I think. Or if the journalistic necessity, like the public good is so high, like I think you can get a pass on it.
Interesting.
So like when people would, you know, like well, you see this in
to ask people, is it okay if I record?
No, but remember all the investigative reports when people are doing illegal stuff, and like the reporters go in and they put hidden cameras everywhere.
Cameras, yeah.
Right, and so they argue, and I've researched this because I was going to start after weblog saying I was going to start a company based just on hidden camera stuff because I was so obsessed with it, and Tyler and I bought a hidden camera and we're going to go play with it and stuff like that. But I just think this hidden camera stuff and getting people in those moments when they're behaving badly is, you know.
Yeah, shame is a powerful motivator. I mean, if
in a
everyone
way, it's
thinks
like
that they are going to be taped, they might change their behavior. Right?
I assume I'm being taped at all times.
Yeah.
At all times, I assume everything is being taped. All right, next story. Let's wrap this up.
Google not invited too many companies to interact directly with the Google Plus social network via API, but they have now extended an invitation to Flipboard, the makers of the popular news aggregating iPad app.
Sure.
Flipboard will essentially now work as a Google Plus reader. You can read and publish posts directly through the app. You can also leave comments, all without leaving. Google VP Bradley Horowitz demoed the new Flipboard integration at LeWeb this week. No official announcement about when it will be available to the public. He did indicate that they would be careful in rolling it out to ensure that people's streams don't get polluted by Flipboard activity. Theoretically, it's going to make Flipboard the first app specifically designed with the iPad in mind to feature Google Plus at all. Right now, iPad users have to use the blown up to double size iPhone G Plus app, which does not look so amazing. And also interesting to consider that on Friday, this morning, Flipboard announced that its software is going to be available for the Kindle Fire, an Android tablet, as well as Nook tablets from Barnes & Noble and Android phones worldwide. So they're going to roll this out as they're rolling out to Android devices. Do you think this is going to be a significant boost to participation in Google Plus?
I wanted to love Flipboard, and I used it for like a little bit, and I never really could get into it. Does anybody here use Flipboard on a regular basis? Has anybody used Flipboard in the last 30 days? That's really telling.
No, but I agree.
It's
I
not
really
sticky.
like the idea. I think it's smart, and I think it's where we're moving in the broad sense. It's not for me.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think
Why?
a
You would think that aren't we the
curate
audience?
for me that way. I love the idea. I love the concept. It's very pretty, but I just feel like I do a better job of scanning my social media and figuring out what I want to read.
You just feel like going
computer.
down your Twitter and your Facebook is going to be better than going through this magazine format. It feels inefficient.
Right. I just feel
Or something like Pulse, where I kind of choose which.
Right.
You know,
I love Pulse.
What
is Pulse?
Pulse is it's sort of a,
basically an RSS reader.
It's kind of a reader app, but you know, they have
that.
It's like the new Google Reader. I don't use Google Reader anymore, but I do use Pulse because you set I want these 8 sources, or I want
and it's a beautiful UI, UX, and it's great. It's a pleasure to use, but you're kind of curating your own versus.
Exactly. Totally agree. I mean, I like that a lot better. I'm better at it than an algorithm, figuring out what I want to read.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to help Google Plus. Next story.
CloudOn is an app for iPad users. It basically
we showed that last week. That was one done by SourceBits. That app's awesome.
It allows you to view, edit, share, save Microsoft Office files, and you can also interact with files that are stored in Dropbox,
you use CloudOn?
Google Drive.
You know it?
I know it. I know the company. We looked at.
You looked at them.
Met the founder. Yeah.
This thing is amazing. Like,
Debuted back in January. Already has over 1 million downloads. It's been on the top of the App Store charts off and on since launching. They've just raised a $16 million Series B, led by CloudOn, the makers of CloudOn.
No. Who invested?
Social Plus Capital Partnership.
Chamath.
Participation from TransLink Capital and existing investors, Foundation Capital, and Rembrandt Venture Partners. Plan is to use the money to expand beyond North America and Europe, and they're also going to bring the product to smartphones in addition to tablets. Plus, they have plans to go beyond being Microsoft Office for the iPad, which is sort of the niche they've fallen into. They want to be more of an all-in-one workspace and productivity solution.
It's like a better
tablets.
Dropbox because you can hook up your Dropbox, your SkyDrive, your Box.com,
Google Drive,
everything. Yeah. And then when you open something, it just knows every media type. Which
right. Their plan is to be totally cross-platform, platform agnostic.
Yeah, it's like
they want to work with Apple, Microsoft, and Google devices and solutions for all kinds of cloud storage and apps.
Shouldn't this stuff be native into the iPad? Like, why doesn't the iPad just do all this stuff natively, like Dropbox and like? Why isn't there a drive on the iPad? Like, why can't I just address a drive? Like, when I plug it in, why isn't there a drive for my iPad for me to just put my stuff in there? Or is that coming with iCloud, you think, Ryan?
I wouldn't count on it. I mean, I would like that too. I think that Apple really likes you to manage all of your stuff through iTunes. I think they like to kind of abstract the experience through like a media management style experience instead of a file system based experience.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us who are like, we prefer to manage our files because that's just the easiest and fastest way to do it. It's
right, and also like different file types. Like I get a daily report on from Google Analytics, and it's a zip file. So every time I'm on my goddamn iPad, I can't undo the zip. And then there's no, really? The iPad's been out for 3 years and you can't handle a zip file? And
yeah, the integration with iTunes is just, it gets more and more like obnoxious all the time.
This is why Evernote, I mean, this company is basically like I don't want to say a better Evernote, but a different Evernote.
Yeah.
It feels like Evernote for people who like Office.
Well, and it's not just viewing Office documents. I mean, you can edit.
Yeah, you can start a new Word document.
Basically, you can use full-on kind of functionality of.
What does it cost?
It does
free?
spreadsheets. It does presentations.
What does that cost? CloudOn.
I will
SourceBits.
I mean, I think it's brilliant going.
CloudOn by SourceBits. Free ad for my SourceBits. They advertised last episode.
I think it's brilliant going with Office as the first.
And you passed on investing in it, huh?
Well, we looked at it a long time ago.
Schmuck.
Before. No,
you regret it, right?
I wish we had. Yeah, those guys are great. Those guys are great.
Does it make you grind your teeth? What did you pass on at Mucker Labs that you're now like grinding your teeth? Be honest. Come on. Honesty is the currency of the realm.
I don't remember.
You lying bastard. Tell me the truth, Eric. What do you forget? What do you try to forget and it just makes you grind your teeth? Come on, be honest here.
Well,
what were you looking at and you said, you know what, I'm not sure, and they made you look stupid. And you stare at the ceiling at night going, Jesus, I would have made $10 million. Come on, Eric. Have this moment with me.
I haven't had that moment yet with Mucker Lab. I mean, we've only been at it for a little while. So.
You want to know mine?
Yeah.
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
I would have thought
and then Zynga.
Yeah.
But would you invest
Twitter and then Zynga.
But if Twitter came to you now, not knowing what they became, would you invest in it? I mean, if they had said the same thing.
You know what?
To you,
I wasn't thinking of myself as an angel investor back then. I just sold the Weblogs Inc. and I didn't think of myself as an angel investor. And both those guys were like showing me the product. You know, well, Pincus was just showing me the poker game and saying he was going to launch a company. It wasn't even called Zynga. It was just called like two dudes and a poker app.
Yeah.
And Twitter didn't have a website, and I passed on those.
But Twitter back then, I don't know that I would have invested either, right? I mean, it seems so unlikely that Twitter would have become what it has become.
All right, listen, this has been a great episode. I don't think there's anything else in the news.
CloudUp is totally free, I should add. Right now,
CloudOn is free?
CloudOn completely free on their website. In the future, the service may have a tiered pricing structure where parts of the application are free while other parts may charge, but for right now, completely free.
You know, I really want all these products to sort of like my Basecamp and my Dropbox. I want everything to just get Yammer. Everything's got to get a little tighter. And it feels like Google is doing the best job of that right now.
Yeah.
Well, since the Google Drive thing, we just had our design department at Mahalo kicked out Dropbox because they needed more storage, and they looked at the pricing and they were like, well, we have Google Drive as well, and the price is half the amount, so we'll just go for $10 a month for these 5 people, $50 a month, instead of $30 a month on Dropbox. And it's already in our Google Drive, so we're logged in already. We might as well just standardize on that. That's very telling. How many people have installed Google Drive right now on their computers? How many have like the little thing in their tray? Okay, it's two of 5 smart guys. How many people are on this call? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five. Yeah. Any other stories, Lon, we should know about?
We got a few other stories. We could
Ryan, what's in the news? Let me ask Ryan. What's the biggest thing you're tracking? What's coming up for you? A gadget.
I don't know. The Surface is big for us.
What's the next big thing? The MacBook Pro. Oh yeah. Have you played with that MacBook Pro with the Retina display? I saw you guys did this. Yeah. You haven't yet.
No, he says he has.
No, he has.
I played with it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's great. I think it's incredibly overpriced, but overpriced is unfair. I think it's priced appropriately because
what does it cost?
Using in that thing is
$2,500.
It starts at 22. And then
the resolution is what?
There's like a good, better, best. The good, like the base, the good is 22. The better, I think, is 28, and the best is like 37 or something.
Looks like 28 right now.
2,800 for a laptop. You can buy a MacBook Air for $1,000. It's amazing.
It's much more than a laptop, wouldn't you say? I mean, you could legitimately use this as
your desktop.
Desktop. I saw somebody connected 3 monitors.
Somebody connected 3 30-inch or 27-inch displays to it. I was like, wow, that's powerful. Yeah. What is the resolution and why should we care? Explain it to us, like if, as
the resolution is high enough that the number no longer is like, it doesn't matter, right?
It's
so high that like you can't perceive the pixels with your eye.
Okay, got it.
So it almost doesn't, I mean, technically it's 2,880 pixels by 1,800 pixels, but it's so many, it's like, I think 5.5 million pixels. It's so many pixels that the pixels don't count anymore. your eye can't see them.
Well, oddly now, sometimes looking at stuff in a browser, I was playing around with it yesterday.
Yeah.
Stuff looks pixelated because it's actually the problem is that folks aren't even developing for this yet.
The software has now fallen behind the hardware.
Exactly.
Again.
You're looking at stuff in a browser. And it
72 DPI is the standard for web resolution for images, and that's now going to have to go up as a result of Retina displays.
That's right, and people aren't there. So
I could tell the difference between my iPad 3 and my iPad 2 pretty clearly, but if you're watching Game of Thrones on HBO Go, there's no difference, correct? Because you're already at 1080p with the iPad 2 or with your desktop computer, correct, Ryan?
Yeah, the difference is a little less in the video, and it's also kind of harder to perceive that detail because there's so much motion. But when you're looking at print, huge difference.
Right, the font style is very buttery. When do people start making this, like, what is it, Super HD TVs? When are people going to start recording on red cameras, movies, and then we're going to start seeing that is it double density?
Next one's called 4K, and that's actually it's 4,000 horizontal pixels wide. Some people are recording on it. I think we're starting to see some stuff get recorded on it. There's no distribution medium. None of the current systems work to actually, cable doesn't support 4K, broadcast doesn't support 4K. Nobody actually has that, but it's being recorded, and for digital cinema especially, you're starting to see some movies get sent, over the wire to movie theaters in 4K.
Are those the red cameras?
Still very rare.
Red cameras. 4K?
I think red camera is just one of many that now do 4K. That's the one like people recognize because it was the first, I think, or one of the first. But what do you think, Lon?
There's 4K. There's also 8K, which is like the next after that.
Right.
Lon, you think that this makes a difference? Are we?
It definitely makes a difference, but I mean, anecdotally, what I've noticed is you get these new technologies, everything looks great for a few months, and then everybody's eyes adjust, and that's what movies look like now. And I mean, I guess we could just keep doing this forever, but eventually you're going to reach the upper limit of your eyes just like biologically can't see.
When we went to see that Blade Runner, the final cut, I don't know if you came to that. Was that?
Yeah, I was there, yeah.
Was that 4K?
At Landmark, they called it 7K.
They did.
This was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, probably.
When they did the final cut, they called it like 7,000.
They called it 7,000 lines, yeah.
They had scanned it and rescanned
the film.
The film. But when we watched the final cut of Blade Runner, we went the opening night. It looked like you could see things in Tyrell Corporation that I had never seen before.
Yeah,
the wires on the
you get to a certain point, you can pick out more detail, and that's what they're saying. Even Blu-ray makes old movies like suddenly you could see the pancake makeup, you could see the sets are flimsy.
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing detail maybe that at this point you shouldn't see.
My Samsung LED screwed up my Law and Order, because I never knew that Law & Order was so much on sets.
Yeah.
And when they walk into their, police station, it's like, oh my God, it looks like a set. I mean, it looks like I made it in my backyard.
Yeah, a lot of film historians are actually upset about all these Blu-rays that come out for like Maltese Falcon or something, because it doesn't look, you need a little bit of blurriness. They were sort of counting on that when they were making it.
And
you would see it with a little bit of
3D
natural
like
blur.
A joke, like, and is it like it's not even legit anymore? Like people are just like not buying 3D TVs, or if they are, they're buying them as an afterthought. I mean,
they keep coming out. Like just today, I think the Dial M for Murder 3D Blu-ray is coming out. That
I will not go see a film in 3D. I went to see Prometheus.
I agree.
No, I agree. Prometheus
in 2D as well.
Look blurry and dark and muddy in 3D. Yeah, I agree.
It just seems like it's like they're forcing this 3D on us. And does
charge.
Anybody here prefer 3D? Let me ask that question of 5 intelligent guys.
No. I think it. I mean, sometimes,
how many people dislike 3D? I dislike it.
If you're talking,
do you dislike it or like it?
I dislike it as a rule, and certainly movies that weren't filmed entirely to be in 3D look terrible when you convert them.
Have you ever seen a 3D movie that you liked?
Well, there are films like Avatar and Hugo that are made with the 3D in mind, and so they actually make the films brighter, and they have a lot of processes.
Did you enjoy those in 3D?
Yes, I think Hugo should see in 3D
Avatar,
if you can.
I didn't like it in 3D.
I hated it in 3D. I felt like I was going to effing puke when they were flying those goddamn.
I think those are films made by. If you get a world-class filmmaker and they're purposefully going in with 3D mind, like Ang Lee's doing Life of Pi in 3D now, and I mean I trust Ang Lee to come up with something interesting that makes the technology work.
After the Hulk, I'll never trust Ang Lee again.
He's a good film.
The Hulk?
He's had some off productions.
Terrible. How many times? It took him 4 times to get that right?
3.
It was good in Avengers.
Hulk and then Incredible Hulk and then Avengers.
The other 2 last points about the new MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro.
Why is this not a MacBook Air, Ryan? Because I don't want to buy.
The Air is so packed as it is, and then by the way, the new Air that they just came out with, by its own rights, I think you can use as your full-on one and only machine. I don't know.
Well, it depends on
Ryan might agree or disagree.
If you're doing After Effects or motion graphics, no. Ryan, Why is this not on the MacBook Air, and when will it come to the MacBook Air in your estimation?
Well,
a year?
I can only theorize, but I'll give you what my theory is. One, the cost. So doing a Retina panel for a laptop, this is a very, very high cost part for the device. So if you actually go look at the iPad 3 and you tear down, and you separate it into components, the screen is by far the biggest cost.
It's like $100 of it, right?
It costs like twice as much as the iPad 2 screen. So they ate a lot of profit on that iPad 3 screen, and so they needed a model of MacBook where they could introduce the Retina and be able to justify a really high price. Right now, what they're trying to do with the Air is really push that down market. So it's their best-selling computer. I don't think they want an Air that costs $1,900 to start.
With the iOS,
that's how they want to play the Air. But the other thing I think is also the Air has a very sensitive power and thermal envelope, which means that in terms of power consumption and heat production, they have to be really, really careful with that. Especially if they're trying to.
It's pushing the limit already.
And so to drive a display like that on the Air with the current equipment, with the current chips, I don't think that it's quite there. So we're going to get there. It's just going to be a little while. We need to get some of that hardware caught up.
What's also interesting is the MacBook Pro, which I have a MacBook Pro at my house. I stopped using it. I replaced it with the iMac because they were getting faster. But I have people here who have to use 2 processors because doing motion graphics and stuff like that, it matters. They haven't updated that form factor in 5 years. 6 years.
You mean the Mac Pro?
The Mac Pro. That's right. I'm sorry, Mac Pro. And they were getting so much flack from people, this Facebook page, that now they've said. Or I guess Tim Cook responded. Tim Cook's becoming like Steve Jobs. He's actually responding to individual emails.
Yeah, he says
he responded to somebody.
They're working on something really great for later next year, he said.
I believe. I think he said to somebody, "Did we forget about this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we forgot about it." He's like, "Can we get how quickly can we get something out?" They're like, "Probably a year."
Later next year.
He's like, "Later next year." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Oh, we have something really cool for next year." Of course, they're just gonna put a new handle on it.
But it's become a limited use case that you need a tower.
If you need to swap out hard drives and have RAID arrays,
if you're a video editor,
and you want to have multiple CPUs, the iMac doesn't support multiple CPUs. It's too compact back there.
Towers are now a fringe case for video editors.
Even for video editors, that's right. We have many video editors on iMacs, but when you get into motion graphics or some of these other things, from what I understand, people are telling me you need to have multiple things.
Seems like a limited use case, yeah.
It is.
Okay,
it is.
Final question. Everybody's favorite movie of the summer so far, and what are they looking forward to? Tyler.
Oh boy,
Avengers, Prometheus, Spider-Man.
No, none of those.
Batman.
No.
None
None of those.
Hiroi makes sushi.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay.
And by the way, we should have gone to Korea, where we got that invite last week, and gone and had sushi at his place.
It's in Korea?
No, it's in Japan.
Oh, you got like a layover.
Yeah.
You know what? They would only pay like half the speaking fee.
But that guy's only going to be around another 2 years.
Oh, you're saying we should have taken the half the speaking fee I would have gotten, paid for the layover trip, put it towards going to get sushi there.
That's right.
And just done a quick thing.
Because he's
You know what? You're right.
If I had said that, would you have been like, let's do it?
I would have.
Oh, no!
You're an idiot. If you had told
We'd be in Japan right now.
I know, but they were like, they nickel and dimed us on
Dang it.
speaking fee.
I thought of that as I was walking away, like, I could go tell these folks we can't go.
They stopped at 8K.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not getting on a 12-hour flight for less than 15. It's so obnoxious now.
First class.
I know, but I just now that I have the daughter, it's I'm actually 8K, 2 days out of the office. I don't have the time.
I should have mentioned the sushi.
Okay. You should have mentioned the sushi. Okay, so you don't care. What is your favorite film of the summer? What are you looking forward to?
What I'm looking forward to, I haven't seen Prometheus yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's incredible. Ryan? Ryan?
I don't know. I really liked Jiro Dreams of Sushi. That was great. I really liked Moonrise Kingdom. That was pretty good.
Which Kingdom?
Moonrise Kingdom. It's Wes Anderson's new one.
Oh, was that good? Some people tell me
he stole. That's what I was going to say. He just stole my answer. I was going to say Moonrise Kingdom was my favorite movie this summer.
I still enjoyed it. Prometheus was. I had mixed feelings about it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't truly love it.
Yeah, you wanted to love it more than you did.
In the sci-fi pantheon.
Yeah, I'm just such a huge Ridley Scott fan that I have to love Prometheus, and I got to see it again to make my. You didn't like it?
No, I mean it's
why?
It is exactly like the last season of Lost. It was written by Damon Lindelof, who wrote Lost, and it is exactly like the last season of Lost. Like, let's set up a whole bunch of tantalizing things that seem interesting, and then not explain anything or give any motivations to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you know what? There's
blatantly illogical.
Go read like the big plot explainer.
Oh, I've read all the
or something. I don't know. It makes a lot more sense.
All the Prometheus Explained blog posts strike me as Prometheus fan fiction. It's like, I'm going to invent a bunch of things that explain what happened.
No. You're not reading the right stuff. Then.
But it's not real. I mean, none of it links up. It's just illogical.
All right,
People
well,
behave
listen,
in
okay,
illogical
I'm going to
ways.
just say the word spoiler, so if everybody's listening, turn it off if you haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to see it, you definitely don't
No,
want
I
to
just
be
want to
spoiled.
say, are they... What's the motivation of those big guys? Are
What's
they
the
making
motivation
weapons?
Of anybody? What's the motivation of Wayland? What's the motivation of David
Well,
the
Wayland's
robot?
supposed to meet his maker and just the search for truth.
Also, what kind of
No,
scientist?
he wanted to live forever. He wanted the engineers to
Make him live
of
forever.
Death.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
fine.
He was
Give him a
there
couple-
because he thought that they could cure his death.
Well, what made him even
Sure.
think that?
Well, because they could
Because
create life.
They created us.
If they created us in life, they could fix it.
I mean, it seems a little loose to. And
no, that seems logical.
He could just
but what is
cryogenically
their
freeze himself
motivation?
forever.
And are those creatures, those people, are they the actual like creators of the universe?
Well, you know,
or are
this
they
is what I
just-
mean. Like, you don't
are they
know
just
who they
madmen?
are. You
Because
don't know.
are they
And also,
madmen?
if they dissolve their own DNA and then we grew up out of their DNA to look just like them, doesn't that discount the entire concept of natural selection and
I need to wear
evolution?
earmuffs right now.
Because wouldn't we then mutate
All right, this
on
has been
new
a great
environment?
episode of This Week in Nerds. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you to Squarespace. Thank you to our friends at Scott Walker. Everybody call Scott Walker, 310-288-6667. What a great guy. Thank you, Ryan Block. Thank you, Erik, from Mucker Labs. And if you would like to join Mucker Labs, just email Erik at Mucker Lab. Is that it? What's
That's
your
right.
email?
Yeah, Erik at muckerlab.com.
And what's the deal? That you give them like 25 grand for 85%?
Not quite 85%.
What
so
is it? What's the
on
deal?
average, it's about 21K for 6 to 8%.
21K, 6 to 8%. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and free office
Standard
space,
deal.
free legal. It's kind of a standard accelerator deal.
It's the standard accelerator deal. And you don't feel it's becoming an accelerator bubble? Yes or no?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Well, that's another topic. All right, and
I'll come back.
I maybe I don't know if I agree or not. We'll have to see. It's a jump ball. Ryan Block, congratulations on all the success of Gadget. Everybody go to GDGT and follow at Ryan.
Hey,
Yeah,
congrats on
just
the
at Ryan.
engagement as well, Ryan.
Oh yes, finally. Ryan knows.
I haven't heard so many finalies since.
Finally. Jeez, I can't wait for that wedding. God, it's like. I told him.
Well,
like,
Jason, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Are you sure you're going to get invited?
oh, that's a good point. It could be like.
No, actually, Jason, no, I'm sorry. You are pretty much a shoo-in. You're one of the two people who kind of ensured that that Veronica and I, got to know each other. So.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Ryan was like, I was like, what's going on with you, Ryan? Like, you never with any girls. What's the story? I was wondering about him, kind of situation. And he's like, actually, I met this girl, and he tells me the girl, and the girl shows up at one of the meetups, and she is looking at him with goo eyes I've never seen. She was like, like just staring at Ryan. I was like, that girl is in love with you. And she goes, she got a boyfriend. I was like, let's go beat him up. I'll take care of her boyfriend. What did I tell you, Ryan? What did I tell you?
You made it happen.
I told him that is a great, because then I met Veronica and I was like, wow, she's just delightful. What a wonderful person. Like, just not just like, oh, she's attractive or whatever. She just has like a beautiful, very warm and just awesome person. And I told him, I said, listen, schmuck, stop everything you're doing and just, you have to go 100% and win that girl because you're not going to do any better than that. Trust me. I know you. This is as good as it gets. Go for it. And Ryan was like, okay, I'll go for it. Right? And he went for it and boom, the rest is history. Thank God. What a great couple. Congratulations. Hey, Lonnie Donnie. Speaking of which,
Put me on the spot on
what's
live
the
internet.
story here, Lon? Speaking of guys who are above their pay grade right now, what's going on with you? Come on, man. Lock it down. Everybody check out ranker.com. I'm not going to let you answer any questions. And we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Bye.